This one I didn't see coming. Mozilla just shipped a free VPN built directly into Firefox. No app, no subscription, literally just 50 gigabytes a month of IP protection baked into the Firefox browser just out of the box. Now, this is my genuine first candid reactions. I've read a little bit about this, so I'm going to try to include information about it as I go, but I haven't even clicked the button yet, so I don't know what to expect, and I wanted to demo it and show you what it looks like, and also as I go, share my feedback, and also just my first impression. I have a lot of technical things that I'm definitely going to cover about it, but when you just go here, you just click Get Started. And it does require a Mozilla account. It's annoying it needs an account, but it makes sense. They probably need to prevent abuse. They can't just have this be completely accountless. But it does require an email if you wanted to set this up. And then now you see I can allow the notifications, and then VPN is off. So I can just turn it on. And there it is. If you go into settings, it looks like it's built into the Firefox browser settings itself. It gives you bandwidth. You can manage website settings, and I'll cover exceptions in a second here. And then you can get more protection outside Firefox with Mozilla VPN. Now, before I do some tests and kind of showcase a few more things about this, again, it requires a Mozilla account, as I just demonstrated. Apparently, this is rolling out gradually in the US, UK, Germany, France, and it may not be available to everyone yet, but obviously it's going to depend on your region. And also make sure to keep checking that data counter. 50 gigs is kind of a lot, especially on mobile, but on desktop, depending on what you're doing, you could use a lot of it, but this is a pretty impressive amount of bandwidth to offer for free. If I go to IP leak, you're going to see that the IP address is 63.245. And if I turn the VPN off, then we're going to see if it changes to something else just for basic tests. And you can see that it does change to something else. Now, I'm actually running Mullvad on my system. So I'm confirming now on screen that this does run on top of Mullvad. The big question, and something that I was very curious about, many of you might know Mozilla actually already had a VPN product. It's a paid service, and behind the scenes, it's actually just running Mullvad. If you don't know Mullvad, it's probably one of the best VPNs out there. It's open source, it's privacy respecting, they have really strong policies, and they perform really well in our charts and stuff like that. They don't sponsor any YouTubers. They really don't even have an affiliate plan. Like, they're just that good. Now you can see that I'm using Mullvad VPN here, and that's what it looks like. And so a lot of people, myself included, were wondering, does Firefox VPN just use Mullvad? Now, we can go ahead and test this now. You can just turn on the VPN, and it should replace the IP, even though I'm running Mullvad on my system. And if we refresh the page, you can see I'm not using Mullvad. Now, Firefox never said that they are using Mullvad. And actually, when you read through their documentation, it seems to imply it's different infrastructure, and it really is. That doesn't mean it's a bad service. I just know a lot of people were wondering if this would work the same way as Mozilla VPN, and this is confirmed. It's a completely different infrastructure. So another thing that I like to do is to be able to change locations. So let's say I want to access a site, but I want to be in Canada instead of the US. I don't see a way to do that in here, which sucks. In fact, there's very little visibility at all in terms of what server I'm connecting to, and so that's definitely some, I guess, criticism I have to share about the service. I guess I like the simplicity of it. You just keep it on, but I also don't really have a way to change servers if a server is blocked for whatever reason. With that said, I do like how they say use VPN for this site. This is one of my favorite features that I've seen when I use the Proton VPN extension, and that's actually a big benefit to using a VPN inside of your browser instead of system-wide, because system-wide, it's really hard to do site-per-site exceptions. Like if Google is blocking your VPN or you're getting captured on your bank website, you can't just add an exception for that one website easily on the system one. But if it's in your browser, you just click use VPN for the site, turn it off, and then when you refresh the page, you'll see it's like an open green icon here, but you'll see it's still checked here on the Mullvad site. So you can see side by side where it's enabled. Boom. VPN is off for the site. That's a nice little pop-up. I like the indicators. Those things are really important. So I'm a big fan of that. That's handled very nicely. And then my assumption is that will now show up here. So if you ever actually want to do it, actually have it again, click remove, save changes, and then you can see it's on. It seems like it actually instantly refreshes, which is pretty cool. Something else I want to mention about this that's important to mention, this is going to work like other VPN extensions work, which means it's not technically actually a traditional VPN. So a traditional VPN is going to go through something like OpenVPN or WireGuard. It's going to encrypt everything, and it's also going to do it's doing the encryption plus the IP-based protection. My understanding of how this works is that this is running as technically a proxy in your browser. And so luckily, Firefox already encrypts everything with HTTPS. That's already built in. In fact, this is a fresh copy of Firefox, and I can see now don't enable HTTPS only mode. So I guess they do not enable that by default. So if you want to be double safe. Any of you who are using this, just click enable HTTPS only mode in all windows in your settings, and then you keep this on and you'll get the IP-based protection and you'll still have HTTPS. I also do recommend, if you guys want more privacy and security out of default Firefox, you can click increased protection or even max protection. And then you're going to get DNS over HTTPS that will automatically activate as a part of that. Just a pro tip. I did do some research, and apparently this is something I was curious about. If you hit the 50, which I can't easily demonstrate in this first reactions video for obvious reasons, but let's say we hit 50, apparently you get prompted and you have to confirm before continuing to send traffic. So it's going to let you know before continuing unprotected, do you want to resume connection? That's what I read. I can't actually demonstrate it reasonably in the time frame that I have for this video, but apparently they thought about that, which I think is a really nice touch. Now I have more thoughts, but one final note that's really worth mentioning here. There was a Mozilla note specifically in their docs to just clear up any more confusion about Mozilla VPN versus Firefox VPN. Again, this free one that's built into Firefox is Firefox VPN. If you can use it outside of Firefox, it's Mozilla VPN. They do not get along very nicely. It's important to mention this because there actually is a Mozilla VPN. Like I'm going to show you guys this Mozilla VPN. Oh, apparently that doesn't work. What's going on here? Test. Oh, okay. This is fascinating. Let's turn this off and on. Okay, this is interesting. I am in real time having to troubleshoot this. Maybe in max protection, if you're using HTTPS, let's see. Choose provider, custom. Okay, what if we don't use it? What happens here? There. Okay, that is fascinating. Okay, if we set it to Cloudflare though, does it still work? Okay, so that does work, but for some reason, something in max protection is breaking things. Okay, now it's working. Maybe that was just a weird bug. Okay, yeah, I guess hopefully my advice still stands. You should be able to use Cloudflare with the VPN on. That was a really weird bug though. Okay, so back to what I was showing you. We have Mozilla VPN extension. So now theoretically you can install the Mozilla VPN extension. Watch, I'm going to show you this alongside Firefox extension. So as you can see, this can get a little bit confusing very quickly. The Mozilla extension is pretty nice because it actually speaks to Mozilla VPN on desktop, which runs through Mullvad. And so those like per site exceptions I was telling you about, I think are actually possible. And this actually connects with Firefox containers. And so if you have different containers for like, Facebook traffic going through one thing, you can actually set different rules and requirements. So Mozilla VPN is actually a really nice service. And I like the way they've thought that through. And this is a separate thing from that. And they actually say specifically what I just showed you guys, you're not supposed to do that. Mozilla explicitly says and tells paying Mozilla VPN subscribers to remove the browser VPN icon to avoid duplicate protection. So these are separate products with no shared infrastructure. Please, if you already are paying for Mozilla VPN, turn this off. Do not use this. So if I zoom out, something I got to say, I'm just really happy that this is moving in the better direction. So this is a real trend. We have Vivaldi that bundled with Proton VPN's free tier directly into the browser, which I think is great. I also use the Proton VPN extension. I like it a lot. And so the fact that Vivaldi does that is awesome. Safari's had iCloud Private Relay, which is actually a really quality VPN. Brave also has its own built-in VPN. And now Firefox is kind of joining that trend. So I think browser vendors in general are finally taking it seriously that IP-based protection is a part of the browser experience. And that's a baseline privacy issue to address, not an advanced user concern. And I think that this isn't going to replace any of the tools that we have on our VPN chart. Yeah, you see, okay, I'm just hitting this bug again, trying to go to techlore.tech/VPN. I think there's some kind of issue between HTTPS only mode and the VPN. It's hard to know what's going on, but I got the damn domain wrong on my own website. Okay, so VPN Finder is our tool. I don't think none of these providers on here, and this is our open source chart. If you see any issues with it, please contribute. The idea is for people to be able to compare VPNs. You select them, vpn.techlore.tech. Check it out. It's a really cool thing that we do. This isn't meant to replace any of these. I think that's pretty clear. I don't even think Firefox themselves would say this is meant to replace a full system-wide VPN. Again, they literally sell Mozilla VPN as that system-wide thing, which literally runs on Mullvad behind the scenes. And so I don't think this is meant to replace that. I think what they're trying to do here, which is really important, they're trying to just bump the baseline level of protection that a standard user who might just install Firefox doesn't know anything about privacy, and they're going to be a bit better protected in the process. And I think that's really great. And I think this is good. And 50 gigs is probably more than enough for that person. So I'm actually pretty happy about this trend as a whole. And I think it's moving us in the right direction so that people are actually a little bit less dependent and might not even need a full system-wide VPN as much as they used to. And the fact that this is for free, I think is actually really cool. Okay, now lingering questions I have. And these are the kind of questions I might ask in something like this. Again, please keep in mind the context, which is this is meant to just bump the baseline up. So when I ask these, it's not because I necessarily need this to happen in a free service, because I think this is still better than nothing. But it would be cool to see some kind of audit or some kind of like white paper on how the behind the scenes technology and infrastructure might look like. They did detail the logging policy a little bit, which was directly stated in their documentation. I'm going to quote it here because I wrote it down. They say we may log whether a connection succeeded or failed, or record that 2 gigs of data was used on a certain day. VPN never logs the websites you visit or the content of your communications. So that's a pretty clear statement. It's meaningfully different from a true no logs policy that you might see in these other providers. So they are logging very basic data, but they're not logging destinations. And so I think this is a very fair compromise for a free service that they just want basic uptime for. I also would like to kind of hear from them what they think the pipeline is going to be. My assumption here is that the real goal of this is, yes, to bump that baseline up to get Firefox more competitive with other browsers, because other browsers are starting to rope this in to their browsers. And I think it's also a freemium funnel towards paid Mozilla VPN. So I think this is a similar playbook as Proton. Proton offers the free VPN. People really like Proton VPN for free. It gets you hooked. And then you kind of realize after a while, yeah, Proton VPN free isn't the best thing and it's a bit limiting. And so you want to upgrade to the paid version of Proton. So I'm guessing that this is kind of their goal. And so this is my speculation. It's okay if they do this, but my speculation is that down the road, or maybe even today, if you hit the 50, it might say like, oh, maybe consider getting Mozilla VPN. And that could be kind of how they eventually get more people using Mozilla VPN. Another thing to throw your way is that Proton VPN has a similar extension, and they have a free plan, and that has no bandwidth limitations. And so it's a bit more speed throttled maybe, and it's hard to know if it's fewer servers. Again, there's very little transparency on how they use servers. I think that's my biggest complaint with this as a whole. I would love to see servers, or at least like the load, like to see how loaded the server I am connected to, or what server I'm connected to. I shouldn't have to pull up ipleak.net to see that I'm using a California-based IP. I think that should be built in. And again, this isn't beta, so I'm sharing these things like trying to be constructive about this, but those are kind of my thoughts. So yeah, I think after just pulling this up, sharing my thoughts along the way here for the first time, I think this is really good, right? I think the trend of getting everyone some better IP-based protection is actually really awesome. If you're a Firefox user and you're not running a VPN at all, turning this on is genuinely an improvement for your privacy. There is like absolutely no downgrade here. It costs you literally nothing, and you're only going to get IP-based protection. But this is a little bit limited. So if you're already using a system-wide VPN, I'd say there's no reason to change over to something like this. I think this is really to bump up that baseline for the regular user who's not using something like this. And I think that Firefox taking that into consideration is actually a really good sign, especially when other browsers are already doing it, and it's one more reason to use other browsers. So those are my thoughts on it. Again, I would love to see a little bit more transparency over what server I'm connected to, and also maybe the ability to switch a server somewhere else. But I know even free Proton VPN doesn't let you do that. So I understand if that's not an option, but those are just kind of my loose thoughts using this. I think it's a really good starting point for people, and I'm curious what you guys all think. So let me know down in the description. If you want to find a more like system-wide VPN, all of these like top 5 services, 5-6 services on here are all open source. You can just click compare and kind of see which one works best for you. And this is something that we're very proud to have. Like, I'm very proud of this. So check that out down in the description if you want to see our VPN chart. Otherwise, let me know what your thoughts are on Firefox VPN, and I'll see you all next time on Techlore. Thank you all so much for watching.